He was here yesterday. Maybe something is holding him back. Yeah. Okay. So, welcome everyone. We will continue with our reading session of Samadhanatmak Bhautikvad, Resolution Centered Materialism. We have read four chapters so far, and this has helped us develop a number of concepts that how what is this saturation in omnipotence about? सत्ता में संपृक्तता का क्या मतलब है? Right? We have got uh, this is what the chapter 4 was about. And then we basically understood various aspects of coexistence and how the four orders and the four planes have uh, come about and exhibit coexistence in ever higher order, uh, increasing order of emergence, right? So in this chapter, the chapter number 5, we will be discussing the development in atom, right? We saw that there is a completeness drive uh, in the nature, right? So this completeness drive leads to um, and successive emergence in the nature, and that is what basically this is a very key idea over here, that the development actually happens in the atom. An atom becomes constitutionally complete and thereby becomes sentient, and it basically starts expressing the activities such as hope, thought, desire, resolve, etc. So that this is something which is basically gives us uh, thus far consciousness, we could not anchor it. We had some sort of a sense that uh, I am distinct from the body, but what exactly is I? Is that a unit, or is that an idea, or it is a projection of the brain itself? So this actually, even at the level of concept, it gives us an anchoring that I is uh, a unit and a constitutionally complete unit. Now, when we actually bring this into our thought and try to analyze various things that are happening about and around us, it seems to be fitting. It actually fits the set of the logic and reason much more easily than any other explanation than we might have got about consciousness. So this is one thing that is basically leads to our comprehension of the world around us. That is what is called as abhas of the existence. That we learn, we are able to, we can actually comprehend the realities and about us and around us. So this is a very important thing. So once this actually gets accomplished, then we have a comprehension of what is going on around us and about us. We therefore reach the conclusion that, okay, this is the way reality is, and this is my role in this part of the whole existence, and therefore I need to align myself and my life around it accordingly. So that actually leads to a next level of understanding, which we are calling as direct cognition or sakshatkar. That because you basically are able to know, it's no more a conceptual understanding. It becomes a understanding of one's own, right? And that basically leads to a resolve, which is actually has a higher level of uh, understanding than having a visualization, right? So one basically becomes resolved about how the reality is. This conviction actually becomes the basis of one's living. So this is called avdharana, right? Or the conception of reality, right? So this basically is a gradual process of adhyan, by which one keeps strengthening one's resolve, right? And once this resolve becomes complete, or once this conception becomes complete, or the whole picture of existence becomes crystal clear, right? That basically is the point when the realization or anubhav actually happens, right? Which becomes the basis of living with authenticity. So if you look at it, that is the process of that is the positioning of this darshan. That basically saying that first you perceive the reality, then you comprehend the reality, and then you become aware of the reality, and finally you realize the reality, right? So, if I'll try to share the, anybody wants to make any observations or comment, so in so far, maybe then we can uh, continue on this.
Yes.
Sanjeev, is this visible clearly?
Yeah, it is visual Bhaiya. Thank you. So if there are no questions, we will proceed to reading straight away. Shilpa Didi, will you read the first part?
Yes, Bhaiya. So in
These
Hindi
are too
and
small. In Hindi and English, both you can do it. It's a small section, only two small paragraphs which you can see on screen.
okay. मानव अस्तित्व में ही कार्य व्यवहार विचार और अनुभव करना चाहता है। अस्तित्व में अस्तित्व के अतिरिक्त समझने सोचने कार्य व्यवहार अथवा अनुभव करने का कोई आधार नहीं होता, क्योंकि अस्तित्व से अधिक और कम सभी कल्पनाएं भ्रम ही होती हैं। The human being wants to work, behave, think, and realize within existence only. In existence, there is no other basis of understanding, thinking, working, behaving, and realizing apart from existence, as any imagination more or less than existence is nothing but delusion. भ्रम का तात्पर्य सत्य सा प्रतीत होते हुए सत्य न होना है। अस्तित्व सत्ता में अर्थात अरूपात्मक अस्तित्व में संपृक्त प्रकृति यानी कि रूपात्मक अस्तित्व है। इसलिए अध्ययन के लिए संपूर्ण वस्तु अस्तित्व ही है। Delusion means something that seems like truth but is not truth. Existence is nature saturated in omnipotence, that is, the formless existence. Thus, existence itself is the entire content of study. Yeah, so these are pretty straightforward that whatever is to be done is of existence only and in existence only. And this consists of Rupatmak and Arupatmak. So formless and form. So the form is saturated in the formless. And and this is also nice that any imagination more or less than existence is nothing but delusion. So only existence needs to be studied, and anything that we imagine more or less is delusion. And then the author says about delusion that seems like truth but is not truth because it does not exist. So yeah, straightforward paragraphs.
Mm. So, I mean, this is very good, Shilpa Didi. So, basically, if you look at it, our idealistic traditions like Vedant, they accepted the existence of Brahm uh, and everything as secondary, or primary existence is of Brahm, that is the omnipotence. And the materialists only recognize the existence of matter. So they made, so whatever they basically understood, thought, behaved, was essentially about whatever they accepted the existence to be. And that is how they gave the interpretation of the world. So now here, basically, existence is accepted to be nature and omnipotence both, and coexistence of both. So that is the basis of uh, all the presentation of Madhyas Darshan. That is the existence. That is the way existence is. That has been accepted as the basis, and based on that, he has actually interpreted that, or that how this what is the nature of things, how the things are interrelated, how human beings, uh, what is the right behavior of human being, right? What is the right occupation of human being? So that is how it has been interpreted. So he says that delusion is that if you make uh, anything which is less than what this existence is, or more than what this existence is, they are actually is all about delusion. They may seem like truth, but actually are not truth, right? So that is what basically is the fundamental positioning of this darshan.
So there is
Good.
actually
So,
further
any
one
questions?
question or one
Ji,
point.
Raghav bhai.
Yeah. So basically, one thing that was interesting for me was, I mean, so there is a possibility that I can make a construct that is not true, right? So we have the freedom to do it. Looks like, right?
Yeah.
The illusion seems to be some things that is true, but so why can I not? So why do I don't make only true statements like a machine? So there seems to be a way in which I can make some logical constructs that are not true, and I need to be able to verify that. Okay, that's all I want to say, Rakesh. It looks that's what there's a possibility left
Yeah,
here.
yeah, right. It is possible that one may make incomplete hypothesis, right, and go about trying that out in the living, right? But he says that because they are not totally aligned with the existence, they will actually they will end up resulting into conflict, uh, and and not fulfillment within human being, and essentially in some ways uh, there will be conflict in the relationship between human beings and with the nature. So that is what has happened. I mean, the positioning of this darshan is that so far human being could not understand existence the way it is. Therefore, their work, whatever imaginations that they actually built about it, ended up in conflict. And this conflict resulted into the exploitation of earth, and eventually leading to the earth itself becoming unlivable. So this is a very hard-hitting positioning of this darshan, uh, which basically says that so far existence has not been studied completely. It is not denouncing the previous efforts, saying that the previous efforts have contributed to human understanding, but they remained incomplete. So whatever imaginations that were made about how they should actually should go about thinking, living, working in this world, ended up actually making an imaginary world, which is a deluded world, right? Which led to the lack of fulfillment in human being, and also conflict with the nature, right? So there is no other way that is left for human being apart from understanding existence the way it is. That is mm, that's where it is. Yeah.
Ji, bhai. So we can go ahead. This again is a small section, रूपात्मक अस्तित्व की पहचान. I think some small two paragraph. Maybe Ganesh bhai, will you read the Hindi part and then Raghav bhai can read the English part? Is it okay?
यस भैया.
जी जी. तो पूरा रूपात्मक अस्तित्व को कर दिए, दो तीन छोटे छोटे पैराग्राफ है, हाँ तीन छोटे छोटे, इनको कंप्लीट कर.
ओके भैया. अरूपात्मक अस्तित्व स्वयं में निरपेक्ष ऊर्जा के रूप में व्यक्ति है. यह गति, तरंग, दबाव, वही नित्य वर्तमान स्थिति में है, साथ ही सर्वकाल में एक सा विद्यमान, भासमान और बोध व अनुभव गम्य है। इसी सत्यतावश अरूपात्मक अस्तित्व मूल रूप में साम्य ऊर्जा, परम ऊर्जा अथवा निरपेक्ष ऊर्जा के अर्थ में नित्य विद्यमान है। यही निरपेक्ष सत्ता है। इसे हर एक इसे हर एक की परस्परता के मध्य में होना पाया जाता है। सत्ता स्थिति पूर्ण है। सत्ता में संपृक्त प्रकृति स्थितिशील है। सत्ता स्थिति पूर्ण होने की सत्यता उसकी व्यापकता से सिद्ध होती है, क्योंकि रूपात्मक अस्तित्व ना हो ऐसा कोई स्थान और काल सिद्ध नहीं होता। आगे पढ़ना भैया ये वाला पैराग्राफ।
जी
जी
भैया।
भैया जी।
ठीक है। सत्ता में संपृक्त प्रकृति अनंत इकाइयों का समूह है। इकाई का तात्पर्य 6 ओर से सीमित पदार्थ पिंड से है। प्रकृति की मूल इकाई परमाणु है, क्योंकि परमाणु में ही विकास और ह्रास सिद्ध होता है। परमाणुओं का निश्चित गतिपथ स्थित अस्तित्व में होना पाया जाता है। ऐसे गतिपथ और परमाणु अंशों के सभी ओर रूपात्मक अस्तित्व दिखाई पड़ता है। इससे स्पष्ट होता है कि अरूपात्मक अस्तित्व में ही संपूर्ण रूपात्मक अस्तित्व संपृक्त एवं ऊर्जा संपन्न है। प्रत्येक इकाई में ऊर्जामयता का साक्ष्य परमाणु के पूर्व रूप में और परमाणु के पर रूप में क्रियाशीलता से स्पष्ट है।
Okay, I will start reading this. The identification of formless existence. Formless existence in itself is manifest in the form of absolute energy. It is eternally present in a state devoid of motion, wave, and pressure. At all times, it remains uniformly existent, perceivable, comprehensible, and realizable. By virtue of this variety, formless existence is eternally present in its fundamental form as uniform energy, supreme energy, or absolute energy. This itself is absolute omnipotence. It is found to be present in the midst of mutuality between every unit and every other unit. Omnipotence is state complete. Nature saturated in omnipotence is state dynamic. The variety of omnipotence being state complete, the verity of omnipotence being state complete is established by its omnipresence, because there is no place or time where formless existence is not there. Nature saturated in omnipotence is a set of countless units. A unit means a body of matter bounded in 6 directions. The fundamental unit of nature is the atom, because development and decline are established only in the atom. Atoms are found to exist with definite motion paths. Formless existence is seen all around such motion paths and atomic particles. This makes it clear that the entire formful existence is saturated and energized only within formless existence. The energization in every unit becomes evident through activity in prior form and post form of the atom. Ganesh Bhaiya, would you want to add this and summarize?
Basically, in this paragraphs, it has been discussed or informed about the formless and form. So formless is basically the supreme energy or uniform energy which is at all places. And about the forms, that is a dynamic, which is nature, which is submerged in this formless nature. So the form for the units which are submerged in the formless energy, that is basically the paragraph is intimating. I have only one question. Six directions is written. Why not all direction written? So that if you can add or Bhaiya can add.
I think it is just a conversational thing that, okay, top, down, left, right, front, back, right? So idea is all directions only.
Mostly
No, I
in
mean
all
somehow.
physical objects, we call it three-dimensional actually. Yeah? So three dimension, and in each dimension there are two sides. So overall it becomes six sides. I think that as
Yeah,
Rakesh Bhaiya
right.
said.
No, but it's interesting to me also in the sense that the question, I mean, so there are only three dimensions, is what Babaji is telling, right? They are not more six dimensions or 11 dimensions or 26 dimensions as some other theories, right? So it's, so can I mean, so if I take it as a word, there are no other
Mm.
dimensions in which space is there. There are only these three physical dimensions and no extra dimensions like string theory or somebody is telling. We can just
Yeah,
define
that
it.
is also, I mean, it doesn't give a room for another other flights of imagination, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
true. Yeah, correct.
mm,
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the material world, there are only three dimensions. That's what is being said here, right?
But
even
omnipotence,
otherwise,
yeah, correct. So
yeah,
omnipotence has no
No,
other dimensions also.
no. So
like
omnipotence is not the material one.
Ah, okay.
no,
Okay.
it's saying
So
that basically matter, the unit has basically six sides. Yeah.
Yes. Mm.
So, and these sides and are all present in the omnipotence.
Okay, so if I say that physics is only for the material things, so everything that we can derive describe in physics has only these three into two. I mean
Hmm.
the three dimensions, right? So physics
Right.
did not have anything more than these three dimensions. Just to put both
Yeah.
of them together. So omnipotence might be infinite, right? So we can't say
Hmm.
anything about that. Yeah. Okay. Understood.
Right. So, yeah. Anything else, Raghav bhai, would you like to add? I think you had thought about this thing a lot. Yeah.
No, Rakesh. I think it's yeah. I mean, nothing to add here. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, this is one thing that is being said here, that the uh, thing that seems like an empty space between the units, like what is between me and this laptop, between each one of us, between every two units. It is actually a reality. Yeah, it is not an empty thing. I remember once बाबाजी said, ये जो परस्परता में खाली स्थली है, ये खाली नहीं है, ऊर्जा है. And I still get goosebumps when I remember him saying that. Yeah, this is not an empty. This is not empty. It is a thing. Yeah. So it is in which basically in which every from the smallest to the biggest entity is present in it, and it is actually limitless. There is no form to it, right?
Can you say that
Because a
quote in
form.
English from Babaji?
I'm sorry.
Can you say that quote in English from what Babaji said?
Yeah, he what he said was, this space, this emptiness that you see in between the units, in between every two units, between me and you. This is not an emptiness. This is not empty. It is actually energy. This is energy. It is present in which all the entities are present. And this is uh, in humans, this empty space is present as gyan or knowledge, right? So that is what he said. ये सत्ता जो है, ये हम सभी में ज्ञान, मानव में ज्ञान स्वरूप में मौजूद है. That is where, so it comes into this omnipotence, comes into realization for human beings, right? For the rest of the nature, it is in the form of the energy, right? So this is where we says that this is actually, this energy is not having any motion. It doesn't have any wave. It doesn't have any pressure, right? It is always there in this state. It is also therefore called the state complete. Its state is complete. There is no change in it, right? Unlike the physical objects which undergo change, they have the change in position. They transform. They actually keep moving. So that is why the nature units of nature are called state dynamic, sthitishil. They are dynamic in nature. While over here there is no dynamism in the omnipotence. It is in the state of it is a complete state. And he says that this is present, existent in all times in the same way, and it is perceivable. So we can perceive it. We can perceive it through our senses, right? Because we can see it as empty space. This is also an important thing, that the omnipotence or the absolute is not something beyond our perception. It is there as the perceivable thing. Also, it is perceptible also, right? It is comprehensible also, right? Which means that you can actually apply logic and comprehend to this. And finally, it is realizable, right? So it is not something which is somewhere else, right? It is there in which we are, right? So that is one another thing that this third line actually is trying to say. That is, it at all times it is existent in the same way. It is perceivable in the same way, comprehensible and realizable.
I mean,
So,
Rakesh, why do you define both as comprehensible here? Both.
uh, but finally, see, both, when we say both means actually what comes into understanding, right? What basically comes at the level of buddhi, right? So both gamya means what actually can come into understanding. So it is only through comprehending that it comes into our understanding or acceptance. Both means acceptance. So acceptance is first established by first perceiving it, then comprehending it, and then it leads to acceptance. Without comprehending, it doesn't become part of our acceptance.
Understood.
Yeah. So then it says that this formless existence is in the form of absolute, is uniform energy, absolute energy, right? So and it is basically is the basis of energy. This is not the energy like we are familiar with, like for example heat, sound, right? Or electricity. These are called the work energy or the relative energies. It is the energy which is the basis of this relative energy, right? This is what is present in because it is the base, it is the source of uh, their activity, units activity. So it doesn't transform into from one form to the other, while the units actually express the energy, they evolve, they express the relative energy, and that energy can get transferred from one to the other, from take one form or the other. The omnipotence actually is the infinite reservoir of energy which is present all the time. It has been present, will be present, is present, right? So this is something which is the fundamental basis of all activities. This absolute stillness, this actually is not actually undergoing any uh, any sort of activity, it's not an activity itself, right? But all activities is the basis of all activities. So these units are saturated in it, and that is how they are having the energy to perform activity. So the activities of units give the evidence of the presence of absolute energy. So in this sense, nature is in a way gives the evidence of the presence of absolute energy.
Mm.
Absolute energy doesn't do anything. All the doing actually happens in the nature. Nature actually evolves and reaches the state of realization in omnipotence, and thereby coexistence, manifestation of coexistence becomes complete. So this is the basic fundamental idea of coexistentialism, right?
Mm. Understood.
Yeah. So then we basically are saying that one is that only this is there. There are only this omnipresence or omnipotence is there, and the units are there. That is what existence is. There are no two omnipotences, because if I mean दो व्यापक सत्ता नहीं है, right? Otherwise, if there were two, then there have to be boundaries between the two, right? So there is only one omnipotence, right? Even to say that it is one, that also means that it has, there can be two. There is omnipotence and there are units as one, two, three, etc. So it basically makes the design of existence rather simple, right? And then it says that atom is the fundamental unit of nature, because the development and decline are established only in the atom, and the atoms exist with definite motion path. Definite does not mean constant. Definite means something that would result into a definite conduct, right? A sodium atom basically exhibits a definite conduct. Now, to may ensure that definite conduct, it would have basically uh, it would it would ensure that a certain constitution is there, and constitution with a certain number of particles in the nucleus and certain number of particles in the orbits, and they will actually maintain their integrity, right? As long as they maintain their integrity, that collection of particles is called sodium. Okay, once this uh, constitution is broken, which is there is a possibility, right? The constitution can change into another sort of constitution. So matter is always found in a constitution. So basic constitution of matter is atom, and then basically its successive forms, the tiers of constitution of matter is found as molecules, molecular forms, bioorganisms, and so on and so forth, right? So basic uh, constitution of orderliness is atom, on which successive forms of orderliness or vyavastha are actually built. So this is what is called the prior form. Prior form is the atomic particle. Post form of the atom is the molecules, and so on and so forth. Yes.
I mean, is Gatipat, Rakesh? I mean, why? I mean, for me, it is looking like Gatipat. I mean, like a directionality, right? Atoms are found to exist with definite directionality, or the way in which it is in that Gati, right? I mean, towards the result.
Well, well,
That's
it's
what.
not Gatipath, as I understand, is the there are there are two, three ways in which Gati is used, but the Gati path clearly for an atom is the activity that happens within an atom. Like, for example, the rotational activity and vibrational activity and the activity uh, uh, of the orbits and so on, right? But when you talk of gati, there are gati as such, or the motion for any unit, right? That actually is defined as either it will develop or it will decline or it will transform, right? या तो विकास होगा या ह्रास होगा या फिर परिवर्तन होगा, right? That is how basically gati is defined. But for an atom, the gati path or the motion path actually means that how the particles actually exhibit their activity and thereby uh, exhibit a composite conduct in a composite manner. The particles themselves are not a conduct, but when they together become in the form of uh, they come together in a certain way, then they start exhibiting a conduct like a hydrogen atom, chlorine atom, and sodium atom, and so on. So the gati path or the motion path and the constitution together ensure the exhibition of a certain kind of conduct.
Okay. Understood.
Yeah. So basically, we in this paragraph we learned about the formless existence, and we learned that the atom is the basis of development, right? And now we can talk about go to the next paragraph, which is about the formful existence.
जी भैया, जी। I see lot many more people have joined. Sheila Didi, good morning. Do you want to read the next section?
Yes, I can read it. So
जी,
I'll read the one that is showing the
Rupatmak Astikva. Okay, so there are some 3, 4 small paragraphs. We can read all of it in one go till Vikas Parmanu mein hota hai.
Okay, just a minute.
You can read the Hindi as well as English together.
Okay, okay. So रूपात्मक अस्तित्व की पहचान, आइडेंटिफिकेशन ऑफ फॉर्मफुल एग्जिस्टेंस। प्रकृति अनंत इकाइयों का समूह है। प्रकृति की मूल इकाई परमाणु है। प्रत्येक इकाई अपनी परमाणविक अवस्था में व्यवस्था सहित सचेष्ट है, क्योंकि सत्ता में संपृक्त होने के कारण उसे ऊर्जा प्राप्त है। प्रकृति में ऐसी कोई इकाई या अंश नहीं है जो ऊर्जा संपन्न ना हो। इसी कारणवश प्रत्येक इकाई क्रियाशील है। यह क्रियाशील प्रत्येक इकाई में श्रम, गति और परिणाम के रूप में दिखाई देती है। इन इंग्लिश, नेचर इज द सेट ऑफ काउंटलेस यूनिट्स। The fundamental unit of nature is the atom. Every unit in its atomic state is active as orderliness because it has inherent energy due to being saturated in omnipotence. There is no unit or particle in nature which is not replete with energy. Every unit is active because of this itself. This activeness is seen in every unit in the form of effort, motion, and result. Next. इकायित्व प्लस ऊर्जा संपन्नता बराबर क्रियाशीलता. In English, unit with energy endowment gives activeness. जड़ इकाई से तात्पर्य 6 ओर से सीमित पदार्थ पिंड की प्रकाशमानता और परावर्तन से है. The insentient unit means radiance and projection of the body of matter that is bound from the 6 directions. इकाई और ऊर्जा संपन्नता का वियोग कभी नहीं होता. इसी सत्यतावश क्रियाशीलता निरंतर देखने को मिलती है. इसीलिए सत्ता में संपृक्त प्रकृति सत्ता में स्वाभाविक रूप से गर्भित होने के कारण सत्ता में अनुभव पर्यंत विकास के लिए नित्य प्रवर्तित है. क्योंकि सत्ता स्थितिपूर्ण है, प्रकृति पूर्ण में गर्भित है, इसीलिए पूर्णता के लिए प्रवर्तन होना अस्तित्व सहज सिद्ध हुआ। In English, the separation of a unit from its energy endowment never occurs. By virtue of this verity, continuous activity is observed. Therefore, nature, being naturally embedded in omnipotence, is perpetually impelled towards development until realization in omnipotence. Until realization in omnipotence. Since omnipotence is state complete, nature is embedded in the complete. Therefore, being impelled towards completeness is established as intrinsic to existence. क्रियाशीलता क्रियाशीलता स्वयं सम विषम एवं मध्यस्थ शक्तियों के रूप में गण्य होती है। सम विषम शक्तियां परस्परता में आवेश के रूप में देखी जाती हैं। नाम मध्यस्थ क्रिया का कार्य है। इसे हम छिपी हुई ऊर्जा के नाम से जानते हैं। इस प्रकार यह सिद्ध होता है कि सम विषम शक्तियां कार्य ऊर्जा के रूप में सम विषम शक्तियां कार्य ऊर्जा के रूप में, मध्यस्थ शक्ति छिपी हुई ऊर्जा के रूप में प्रकृति में नित्य वर्तमान। Activeness itself is recognized as generative, degenerative, and mediative powers. Generative and degenerative powers are observed as charge in mutuality, while the function of mediative activity is to normalize it. We know this as hidden energy. Thus, it is established that generative and degenerative powers are eternally present in nature in the form of work energy, while mediative power is eternally present in the form of hidden energy. More?
Yeah,
Okay.
this is the last paragraph.
Okay. स्वभाव गति प्रतिष्ठा ही इकाई की संपूर्णता व इकाई की निरंतरता है। आवेशित गति को अधिकतम आवेशित कर किसी प्रणाली के द्वारा once again, स्वभाव गति प्रतिष्ठा ही इकाई की संपूर्णता व इकाई की निरंतरता है। आवेशित गति को अधिकतम आवेशित कर किसी प्रणाली के द्वारा स्वेच्छात्मक रूप में क्रिया कराना ही आज विज्ञान का आधार है। ऐसी घटना अर्थात आवेशों पर आधारित होने की मानसिकता इसलिए हुई कि मध्यस्थ क्रिया और उसकी महिमा को आज तक पहचाना नहीं गया। धन ऋणात्मक आवेशों में ही सापेक्षता सिद्ध होती है। यही अधिक और कम का भी अर्थ है। अधिक और कम दोनों पूर्ण नहीं होते और इसी कारण स्थिर नहीं होते। फलतः मध्यस्थ शक्ति ऋण एवं धन आवेशों या शक्तियों को सामान्य बनाने के लिए सतत कार्य करती रहती है, क्योंकि मध्यस्थ शक्ति यानी क्रिया का लक्ष्य पूर्णता है। इसका साक्ष्य पूर्णता और उसकी निरंतरता है। इसी कारण प्रत्येक इकाई यानी परमाणु का वर्तमान पूर्ण होने के क्रम में ही व्यवस्था अथवा नियति क्रम स्पष्ट है। यही अस्तित्व में विकास क्रम और विकास का प्रकाशन है। A unit's establishment in its natural state itself is the wholeness and continuity of the unit. The basis of present-day science is to intensify the charge state to its maximum extent and through some system make it act according to one's own will. Such an occurrence, that is the mindset based on charges, has arisen because the mediative activity and its grandeur have not yet been recognized. Relativity is established only in positive and negative charges. This itself is also the meaning of more and less. Neither more nor less is complete, and for this reason neither is stable. Consequently, the mediative power is engaged in bringing negative and positive charges, that is powers, into a normal state, because the aim of mediative power or activity is completeness. Its evidence is completeness and its continuity. For this reason, the orderliness or order of destiny of every unit or atom becomes evident only in the course of becoming complete. This itself is the expression of the progression of development and development in existence. Okay. So this is also talking about what Rakesh Bhaiya was, what the discussion that was happening just now. It is mentioning, the presence of units, the activity in the units, what is the role, what is the source of the intrinsic energy. I don't know what is the term that you have used. The Urja Sampanta ko energy endowment. So this inherent energy, the source of the inherent energy is the omnipotence. This is what Rakesh Bhaiya was describing abhi recently. And that there is no, I think it's quite self-explanatory, that the first paragraph. So then what is the source of activeness? Any activity, if we see, there is a unit and there is some inherent energy within it. And because of this, the words written are radiance and projection. I also see this as its own expression, whether it is simply rotating or whether it is participating in a molecule or in any structure. It is that expression. It's radiance and projection of the body of matter that is bound from the 6 directions. The 6 directions part is just an explanation, repetition of what we understand as padarth or as matter. Okay. So then the unit and the energy, this inherent energy, of course, is never separated. Therefore, we can see continuous activity. And here we're talking about the 3 kinds of activity that Bhaiya also mentioned, Shram, Gati, Parinam. Therefore, nature being naturally embedded in omnipotence is perpetually impelled towards development. So omnipotence has this nature, has this quality of being, space has this quality of being omnipotent, complete. And so the nature, the atoms and everything that is soaked inside this space or omnipotence gets that quality or wants to become that kind of thing, that completeness. It wants to become that state complete. And this is intrinsic to existence. And this is what we are calling also Vikaskram, where nature tries to reach that point of completeness. Up. Huh. Okay. Now the description of the activity, the activeness, Kriyashilta. The activeness has been divided into 3 forms, generative, degenerative, and mediative. Generative and degenerative we see around us, and since we've all been exposed to science, so we also see that science uses these 2 activities, generative and degenerative, to study it. But the mediative power is one that has not been understood. It is also known as a hidden energy. This mediative power is what balances or brings generative and degenerative to a normal state. If it continues generating, it will become, it will become like a tumor or whatever, some big structure. If it is only degenerating, then it will reach no functionality. So the mediative power is the one that balances or brings these both to normal. The function of mediative activity is to normalize it. Okay. Now, being in this natural state, the normal state without Sam and Madhyasth, that is the wholeness and the continuity of the unit. That is what it is striving to reach. Here in this paragraph, it is talking about how science has established only positive and negative charges, but it's the mediative power that brings it back to the normal state, and that is the aim. That is also it, because in the natural state is when the nature is able to develop and participate in the orderliness. This itself is the expression of the progression of development and development in existence. I haven't done a very good job, but
No, I think you've done very well, Nidhi.
it's okay.
Yeah, I think I specifically like the line that uh, this one, सत्ता में संपृक्त प्रकृति स्वाभाविक रूप से गर्भित होने के कारण सत्ता में अनुभव पर्यंत विकास के लिए नित्य प्रवर्तित है. That nature, being naturally embedded in omnipotence, is perpetually impelled towards development until realization in omnipotence. So there is a inherent effort, shram, in the units for actually achieving completeness, right? Since effort, motion, and result, these together define the activities of nature. So this set of paragraph actually talk about how the activities of nature function. There is a purposefulness in them. There is a directionality in them, right? It's and because mm, Didi was saying that basically the way the way the quality of omnipotence comes into the nature, right? It's like a air conditioned room is there. All the objects inside the room, they start becoming cold, right? Or if we look at it, the a fetus in the womb, the fetus actually is in the protection of the womb, and the fetus actually achieves the growth, right? That is how the nature is in the womb of omnipotence. It is something complete and it is moving towards completeness, right? So that is the basic so nature is not a random activity. It has a directionality and it is moving towards exhibiting successive uh, orders, that each order actually is establishing itself in the form of continuity and then leading to emergence of the next order, which takes the previous order into its fold, right? And starts exhibiting certain new kinds of uh, abilities that were not there in the previous one, right? So, and there is a relationship of usefulness and complementariness between the two stages. So this basically the emergence of nature is something which is uh, on very solid foundation of coexistence. So the coexistence between nature and omnipotence gets into the coexist gets that nature actually, that bhav or that feeling of coexistence actually gets into the relationship between the units also, right? And then we are seeing that that is how basically they are also having the complementariness is inherent to the relationship between the units, right? And we see this thing actually evolving in a definitive way until the emergence of human being, right? And in the human being also there is an expectation of uh, complementariness in their relationship with respect to the nature apart from themselves and also within human beings. And as long as this relationship is not recognized, we actually sense a strain. We sense a sense of unfulfillment or a sense of void inside ourselves. So, which basically is the impulsion in us, which or the impulsion in us, which basically is driving us towards the understanding, which understanding of this relationship, understanding of this whole design, that unless we achieve this understanding, we are not able to achieve the harmony in our relationship with the world. So the uh, this is what is the description uh, about the units. That units are endowed with energy and they are active, and this activity is not a random activity, it is a purposeful activity. And in relationships it is in the form of complementariness, right? And the uh, in their propulsion towards development, there are actually stages actually established, and each of these stable stages have their own way of establishing their cyclicality, right? So there are actually stable states are there, like different atoms, molecules, and the molecular forms, organisms. They are actually established in order to have a teleological cause of development and awakening. So see that basically there is a directionality actually established in them. And this activity in the nature is expressed in the form of रूप गुण स्वभाव धर्म, the form, properties, essential nature and dharma. This this activity gets manifest in these four forms, these four dimensions. These are four irreducible dimensions. Like you can't explain properties in terms of form, you can't explain essential nature in terms of properties. So these are four orthogonal dimensions to explain the units of nature, right? So this is where then it talks about that the activity actually is demonstrating the powers, right? Some Visham or Madhyas Shaktiyan, right? The activity itself is in in these forms. So this is uh, uh, in terms of their properties, so how they are actually influencing uh, other units in their relationships, right? So sometimes some units, when they combine, it basically exhibit the generativeness, sometimes it is the degenerativeness, and sometimes about the maintenance them. So that is how basically the activeness is manifest in the nature, right? So if we the main important thing is the presence of the mediative uh, power is what basically is is the focus of Madhyas Darshan. That he says is that basically eventually what gets evident is essentially Madhyasth. Madhyasth is, and Sam and Visham, or the generative or degenerative, is essentially for manifesting the Madhyasth only. So it is Madhyasth that is actually is the exhibition of the definite conduct, and Sam and Visham are essentially the transient states which gets normalized to Madhyasth. So Madhyasth is the viewpoint of seeing the existence. So instead of seeing the existence as only generative or degenerative, it is actually seeing the existence from the point of view of continuity, that each of these statuses of the nature has its own continuity, and this continuity is established in the form of tradition. So each of the states, each of the existent states, जो भी यथास्थितियां हैं, all these existent states have their own cyclicality established, right? So that is how basically we are we it is actually giving us a new way of looking at the nature, that it is actually in the form of orderliness, it is in the form of complementarity, it is in the form of layeredness, and this layeredness in as mutually useful and complementary, and giving rise to consciousness, giving rise to consciousness and then finally coming into the state of being the guardian of the rest of the nature. That is what the role of human being is, to come into the position of uh, come into their to take their rightful position as the custodian of the earth as a whole, right? So humankind, their rightful position is to actually be able to see this whole orderliness and take the position of responsibility as a custodian of this earth, right? So instead of being an owner, to take the responsibility of ensuring the balance on this earth, to be a custodian of this earth. This is the positioning that darshan is making for the human being. So another thing that is basically is being said is that there is one importance is actually being given to the natural state, right? Or the swabhav gati, right? So that is that basically is the state in which the unit actually is uh, in the state of flourishing. It basically ensures that it is part of it is exhibiting it is able to fulfill its part in the overall orderliness, right? So that is where its natural state is. So while the rest of the nature is already in their natural state, humans are yet to get established in their natural state. So natural state has its continuity and wholeness. So the units actually form the wholes, right? Each of the unit actually becomes a whole along with their environment. So humans also are expected to become a whole along with their environment. हर एक इकाई अपने वातावरण सहित संपूर्ण है. So that is one important line, that every unit is actually is a whole along with its environment, right? So and then every unit is basically an orderliness with its ness. Like for example, humans are orderliness with humanness. Cow is orderliness with its cowness, or tree is orderliness, treeness. So this ness is what basically defines the natural state or the swabhav gati, right? So this we are learning in in these paragraphs, that nature actually has the directionality for completeness, and in its progression towards completeness, there are actually different statuses, right? That are actually established in the nature. So it's not that the nature is just all of the nature is complete, everything is becoming constitutionally complete, and nothing is no insentient nature is there. But that's not so. Nature actually has all these statuses have their continuity, and they actually keep continuing to fulfill their roles so that consciousness can manifest itself, right? So that so the study or the darshan or the holistic view is about how this nature actually is functioning, what is the way nature is complementary to one another, right? That is what this darshan is about. So, any observation or comment on this?
Yeah, can I put it?
Ji Didi.
So I was remembering in Manav Vyavahar Darshana, there was that point that in Darshan, Drishya, and Drishti, that Vatavaran, Adhyayan, and Sanskar. When these three are there, that is in the environment or the surroundings, and the study, Adhyayan, and the Sanskar, which would be the acceptance. When these three are conducive, then you can, the human is able to have a darshan or work towards the darshan, drishya, and drishti. तो ये जो समाधानात्मक भौतिकवाद में this thing about the atom or the nature being submerged or soaked in omnipotence. So like you gave the example of the air conditioner, that connected it, that that if there is that kind of environment, omnipotence, or a good environment, a conducive environment, it matches up over there. Then the adhyan is the shram, which each atom is and having within itself, that inherent energy is making it do shram or effort. And then the sanskar, which is the sikriti or the acceptance. So every atom, because it is soaked in this, in space, in omnipotence, therefore it accepts its prabhav, its effect, its what is the word you have used for prabhav?
Yeah.
So this seems to be the tatvik explanation, or the tatvik form of that, of the human part. I found it quite nice.
Right. So if you see that basically, uh, existentially, nature is uh, has the directionality towards completeness, and also in the humans, because they perform their activities through choice, right? So they have the choice whether to the take the steps in the direction of awakening or towards decline. So it is basically that is the choice that the humans need to exercise. They have the need for awakening, and in the absence of awakening, they are actually having in the trouble, right? But unless they choose to move towards awakening, uh, there is no progress. Yeah.
Right. So you have the omnipotence, you have everything, but you do need to make that choice ultimately. उसके बिना नहीं होएगा.
Yes.
In humans.
Right.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So, any other observations? Or
GBI, if you can please go back to that small paragraph about generative and this one, right?
ये वाला?
इससे नीचे वाला भैया.
Okay.
Activeness. So,
Yes.
so actually these words are being described as three different things: activeness, powers, and energy. And then energy is further split into work energy and hidden energy. So if you can talk a bit more, why so many things attributed to these three activities, and what's hidden and what's not hidden? Why is it hidden or expressed as hidden, and why that the other things are not like those are being referred as work energy?
So the way that I understood this thing is that an atom actually, uh, there are actually, for example, in an atom, there is a nucleus and there are orbiting particles are there, right? And if the orbiting particles try to become too close uh, to the nucleus, there is this madhyasth energy is there which actually reestablishes them, reinstates those particles in their respective position, in their actual position. So the sum and visham, or if they go too far away, then again it is actually establishes. So that is in their orbit. So the madhyasth actually is coming into play whenever on the need basis, is my understanding, that whenever there is a need, is it actually is coming together, coming into place, while the generative and degenerative is something which we can see is the result of mutuality or because of the other units, right? So other units are actually affecting the, because the units are multiple, so they are actually affecting one another, and which is actually resulting into generative and degenerative powers. But the mediative power is the one that actually is responsible for balancing that, which has been called as the hidden energy, or the force which is responsible for arriving at the balance, right? So it is just the name. I uh, I am of the view that basically uh, this the conduct of the atom is definite, but definite does not mean constant. Definite means that it actually needs performs a certain expected conduct, just like a conduct of a human being. A definite conduct of a human being does not mean a constant conduct. It means that performing the conduct according to the circumstance, what is right, right? So that is where I am seeing this, the role of the hidden energy. So some Visham Madhyas Shaktiya, as I see, is that what comes into the play when the units are interacting with one another. And uh, the Madhyas Kriya is actually coming into action for normalizing them, which it is also called as the hidden energy. So Madhyasth Kriya actually is responsible in the sense of keeping the implementing the intent of niyati, or the destined progression. So that is what Madhyasth Kriya is doing. It is actually ensuring that the directionality is maintained, or the unit is maintained in its natural state. So that is where I am seeing the Samvisham is because of the mutuality. Madhyasth is coming from the nucleus, and it is in the uh, uh, form of normalizing, right? And that is where I am. Sheila Didi, want to say something?
हाँ, I was thinking, I mean, the जो term use किया है छिपी हुई ऊर्जा or hidden
Hmm.
energy, it's poetic, right, or literature kind of language. And Baba, and this is the Vad, huh? It's not the Darshan. So in the Vad and in the Shastra, Babaji does use this kind of language, which is not technical, not strictly technical. So I feel that this is the way I interpret it. That chippy energy or hidden energy is just because you can't see it overtly. Overtly, you can only see things that are moving and the sum and the madhyast. But this one you have to understand. Madhyast, you have to understand when you see that sum and visham are, cooling down or slowing down or coming back to the normal state, then you can understand that there is some force, that is some power that is bringing it back to normal. But I also think that he uses this kind of kavyatmak bhasha, um, is in the Shastra and the Vads. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, maybe so. Yeah,
Huh.
these chapters, the mostly the language is very precise. Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm. But
Hmm.
I mean,
yeah,
I mean,
yes, Ram.
Rakesh, no, I was just trying to put the thought flow in myself. See,
Hmm.
the way that I was thinking was this. Okay, so basically there is omnipotence, and activeness is basically a unit with the energy is activeness, right? That's the formula.
Yeah.
So if it is so activeness needs to be manifested somehow. So activeness manifests as effort, motion, and result. Basically,
Yes.
right? So basically, but so activeness is absolute energy, so rest of them are relative energies, right? I'm trying to use this, how to understand these words, energies and power. I'm trying to put it in my thought flow. So basically, so there is an absolute energy. Because of that absolute energy, there is activeness. This
Hmm.
activeness will form is in the form of effort, motion, and result. So now, okay, so atom or unit has existence. So basically now there are various forces that can be recognized, that are generative, degenerative, or mediative powers,
Hmm.
that will have to be balanced in order for it to exist. So atom is the smallest vyavastha, or the organization of these ants. So there needs to be, so these are basically various, so one unit also interfaces with another unit or recognizes and acts. So this vyavastha, so there are forces that act between them, or forces or powers that act between them, which are either generative, degenerative, or that maintain this vyavastha between these two atoms, or organization of these atoms. So there can be only three. Either one acts, which is adds or adds to the. So those are the three kinds of powers that are there, and work, right? Work is really like a motion, right? So basically, why it is karya urja? I mean, the karya urja. So basically, this motion that causes the motion, the relative energy that causes a particular kind of motion is described as a work energy. Work means there is motion, right? So
Yes.
wherever there is a this energy produces a kind of motion, it seems to be being called as a work energy. And
Right.
the powers themselves are either generative, degenerative, or mediative. That's how I was
Right.
trying to use and understand the word power, energy, and this activeness that is causing this change, as effort, motion, result. Yeah, I mean, somehow I'm just
Right.
trying to
So
answer. Yeah.
absolute energy is the ground of being. Okay. Being present in is the units are active. They are actually exhibiting the work energy. Right. So work energy is not a charge. It is the natural state of expression. Like each atom would express a certain kind of work energy, and molecule will express a certain work energy, and an organism will express a certain kind of work energy, right? And that basically is for expressing this work energy, the units, the entities that are part of that organism or the structure, there are actually some Visham and Madhyasth, uh, that generative, degenerative, and mediative powers are at work. So the Karya Urja or the work energy is the collective way what is getting expressed by that unit or organism, right? And mediative energy is what basically is ensuring that the balance between the generative and degenerative powers. Okay, so this is how I am actually placing these energy and powers uh, okay, in perspective.
Understood. Understood.
Devbhai, mm,
GB, I have some content. I will certainly ponder on it. Thank you very much.
yeah, okay. So we have 4 more minutes, so we can maybe read one more paragraph. Sanjeev here.
I doubt it. We have 4 minutes enough. Then the discussion
Yeah,
will.
that's true.
Uh, it's a
So
new
yeah,
topic. If there are any closing remarks or questions, we can take in a few minutes and then wind up.
yeah, I think that might be better. Yeah, yeah.
So, if
So
anyone has any questions or remarks, or Rakesh Bhaiya from your side, if you have any summarizing comments of what
yeah,
we
I think
discussed.
basically we will need to uh, reconcile our understanding of what we have from science with what is being said here. It's in my view is that it is not talking about a different world altogether. Okay, it is talking about the same existence. Science is trying to explain the same uh, existence, same reality, right? And but the explanation of that reality is different, right? So that is where basically it is coming into picture. So there are certain additional aspects that are actually brought into uh, consideration here, like for example the vyapak satta's presence and the mediative activity, right? And so that is basically is with that understanding, and also then it is also giving certain concepts about how the units uh, recognize and respond to one another, right? So there is a presentation, and there is a whole framework that Madhyas Darshan actually is saying that there is nothing actually gets uh, tra goes from one place to the other because of being present in the omnipotence. The units have the image of one another, right? And based on their state, they are able to respond to that, right? So we will be able to explain this uh, the and also the presence of this absolute energy as the basis of all the activities in the nature is another concept that we need to understand, right? Krishan Bhaiya, you were saying something?
Yes, I have for material. If we are using the word generative and degenerative, some and visum,
Mm.
these words are given by human being only. I just
Yeah.
want to that. But we at some point of time, this generative becomes degenerative, and we are saying that it is urja sampannata. So, what is the point where it converts, some converts into visam? Like there is some particular uh, life of trees, life of human body, animal body. So, at what point it converts some into visam or visam into some?
We
What
need
is
to
the
think about there is one sutra in Manav Vyavahar Darshan. It says Samanit Samatirek Visham का कारण और विषमातिरेक सम का कारण ये जड़ प्रकृति में देखा जाता है. The excess of generative becomes the cause of degeneration. Excess of degeneration becomes the cause of generation. This is the nature of the material. This is observed in the material nature, in sentient nature. So yeah, I do not know how to answer the question at what point it becomes. Basically, uh, there are actually certain each of the statuses that are there in existence have their continuity, and the nature ensures that those stable states actually have their continuity, and Sam and Visham are actually deviation from that natural states, right? So that is what basically Madhyasth is trying to bring that to their normal states. So that is where we are seeing that something gets decomposed, it gives rise to another composition. So composition and decomposition is a cycle. Sangatan Vigatan is a cycle. Rachna Virachna is a cycle. So there is actually Sam and Visham are actually are operating in the cycles in the insentient nature. So yeah.
I could connect it. It's a संतुलन के अर्थ में कह सकते हैं.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Pikaji, so it's about time, and thank you for joining, and gives me a lot of thought to something to think about and improve on this. Yeah.
That was with all of us. So yeah, thanks for joining.
Yes.
Thank you. It was a very enriching session. Yeah. Thank you so much.
See all of you next week, same time, same place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhaiya. Thank